propellers, we've been working on drones. We're currently using the Marvic Air.
So I'm just gonna, talk a little bit about, like flying a drone as like a hobby, for fun. He talked about, flying it professionally, but so, of course, if you want to have fun, you got to be safe, because if you're not safe, then, getting injured isn't fun. Okay, so one thing you want to do, when you get a drone is like, the propellers are very, dangerous. I once hit a tree. It's only happened once, but when the leaves went into it, when I got the drone back, right, it was totally covered in powder, and the powder was from the leaves, and so it's gonna shred your finger off. So you're gonna have to be really careful when you're flying these drones. Like, you don't want to fly it over people. In fact, there's that's one of the rules. So just be very careful. Is that better? Okay, so that is very important. And the other thing you're gonna want to do is line of sight. He talked about that, but line of sight is incredibly important because you can lose the drone. Luckily, in case like there's high wind, which this thing does pretty good against that, there is a return to home button, which is like a lifesaver. It's like the best thing on the drone, in my opinion. The other thing, well, there's lots of things. So for footage, this doesn't have a lot of space. It has like 8 gigabytes, but when you're recording, that goes down like really fast. And so you can get, micro SD cards. They're not super expensive. Like, I mean, yeah, they're about $30 for like, 60 gigs. And so you plop that in the drone, and then you can fly that around and get some cool footage. And we've done house shots of our house, just to show it around. We've also, my Uncle Grant wanted to know what his house looked like from the top, so we just like showed him what that looked like. And there's pictures right there. That's his house, and that's him filming the drone flying right over his house. He really enjoyed that. That's our house right there, and we flew around there. And this is from a video. We just took a screenshot. And what's that doing? There's a mode where you can fly over the house and it will circle any object you want. So, for example, you want to show off your cool cars or whatever, you can have it circle it and it will do it perfectly, because it's really hard, and I mean really hard, to do a perfect circle with, the controller. There's also a mode where, tracking, which is really cool. You can do some really cool bike shots. Like, we had Clark on a bike, and there's a tracking mode, and we put it on the trike. And then he, biked around our house a lot. And what was really cool about that is he tried to outrun the drone, and he failed, but then eventually he went behind a tree, and it lost track.
I was searching for me. It was great.
And then I think the hardest thing I ever took a picture of was, we had a car, and I was sitting, in the front seat, and I had to look behind, because, I have to see the drone at all times. And we had the drone follow the car down the road. It looked really cool. Sadly, we don't have the footage of that, because that's on the drone card, and we lost that, so. Yeah, that's somewhere in our house. The drone itself it's one of the newer models, and it cost about $800. Luckily, we're able to, through MECATX, we can borrow the drone for free. We just have to do stuff like this, learn about it, because learning's important. There's a new drone coming out, which is a lot less. It's around $300, and it's called the Mavic Mini, and it's a lot smaller. It's like about half that size, and I think it's quieter, and there's lots of really cool features on that, like this one has. So, but for this drone, you have to have a phone with it, and that may seem annoying, but the fact that when you put the phone in, you can see what the drone sees, it makes the flight a lot easier, because being able to see what the drone sees, it feels more like a video game and not like Google Earth is what it feels like. You know, the drone flies so well that it doesn't seem like you're flying a drone. It just seems like you're just floating there because it doesn't move whatsoever. When I first turned it on and it just stayed there and stayed perfectly, it was like magic. And it can go pretty high, but remember the max is 400 feet. And it's programmed in there that it won't go higher than that. It will go up and it'll start beeping and it'll stop at exactly 399. And at that point, you can hardly even see it. And so there's also laws about how you're not supposed to go over people's property unless you have permission. Like how we had permission to go over my uncle's house because he wanted to see what his house looked like. And you can go over you can, if you're you can't go over someone's house and spy on them. That's creepy. You can go over someone's property, but kind of. Well, where we live in the middle of nowhere. If you can't tell, there's not a lot of houses anywhere whatsoever. So it's a really good place, and there's no airports because you can't fly near airports because it can mess up the signals or you can hit an airplane. Imagine that. Yeah, so the other, last couple things I want to talk about is there's attachments, there's an attachment that goes on this that can make it so you don't hit a blade protector. And I've used it, but it wasn't very good because it weighed down the drone and the drone started freaking out because it thought it was carrying something and it wanted to go down, but I wanted it to go up. And so it's this constant struggle, and eventually it just wouldn't fly whatsoever. So I don't really use that. And the one thing, if you're getting into drone flying that I highly suggest is power lines are killers. You can't see them on the drone. The drone has automatic sensors, which is another great feature about it. If it's about to crash into something, it will stop. You can turn that on and off, but just keep it on. It's just so much easier. And it will stop and avoid it, and it will do it with people too, anything. But the problem with power lines is because they're so small, the little sensors right here and here can't sense it, and so it will keep going and it will hit it. And I once got a power line stuck to it, and it was jiggling around in the camera, and I was starting to freak out, and then it just fixed itself. It was pretty nice. But yeah, so be careful about power lines. That's my advice to you. Avoid them, if you can, but sometimes you can't. But the drone will do fine against that. And there's lots of different options. DJI drones are great drones. They're, I would buy a DJI drone if I suggested anyone to you. The price is kind of $300 for the mini. That's a lot of money, but it's reliable. The toy drone, he let us borrow one of those, and that was the practice one that we got. And when we first got it, I tried really hard to get those things to work right, but it said charge for 90 minutes, and you plug it in, and you have to wait 2 nights, 2 days, to finally have enough charge that it would fly for 5 minutes. And so that drone was extremely hard to get, but it was kind of good because by the time you could get it to work, if you can fly that thing, you can fly anything. So, yeah, this is just about it. There's lots of information here about how, we've got drones that can plant trees now, which are really cool. It flies over and it scans the area. And so in about 30 days after a big forest fire, because, when forest fires come through, a lot of times what happens is they can't plant trees fast enough. And so we lose the trees. And so what they'll do is they'll fly over and they'll drop it, and they'll replant the trees, and they can do up to 80 acres in 8 hours, which is 6 times faster than a human can plant trees. The other things that drones can do is, we've got the one from NASA, which it can swim and go on land, which is kind of impressive if you ask me. But so what that does is, because humans can't go in some places, and so drones can. If you're gonna buy drones for Christmas, what I suggest doing is you should go to the FFA and you should look at the flight restrictions, because there's some rules, and you can, get a fine if you break some of them. So the ones that are most important for me is line of sight isn't very important. The second one is not flying over people, because you can hit them on the head. It's really dangerous. The other one is not flying too high, and I think the last one is just not going over someone's property. Like how would you like it if you go outside and there's just a drone, watching you? Because the camera's good on it. You can get detail from these pictures that you probably can't see because you're in the audience. But yeah, so I'm gonna hand the time over to Clark.
Why don't you talk about NASA when you were at NASA into the Droen lab?
Okay. So I couldn't find anything online for it, but this summer I went down to Houston for a NASA thing, and one of the things we did there was they called it Drone Lab, or Swarm Lab. And so it was they didn't actually fly drones, they were programming swarms. So there were three different swarms. There were three different swarms, which were just formations, and then there was another version that they would add to it, and it would make it so that the drones would. Well, let me back up. So the purpose of the Swarm Lab was to make it so that drones were harder to shoot out of the sky. They were talking about how this has several applications, like all these things, but I'm pretty sure it was just for military. I mean, if you have a drone and you don't want to shoot out of the sky, that's because someone's going to shoot at it. So, I don't know. Surely, okay, I'm not going to get into that. But, so the drone was set up so that it wouldn't be shot out of the sky. The way they did this is, the way our human eyes work is, and our brain is, we track things and then we look and see where the turns are. And where the turns are, all of the, birds, what we're used to, they group up and there's like there's this knot. And if you shoot a shotgun there, chances are you're gonna hit something because there's a huge cluster there. But with drones, it's the same way. If there's a swarm of drones and they make a turn, then there's this cluster where you can hit an extra bunch, and that's where the human brain tells you to shoot. That's where logic tells you to shoot. So you'd shoot there. But this setup made it so that the drones would randomly shift, and it was completely random, which is something analog brains can't really do. So there's no way for humans to predict it, and it would fly and it would shift, and you couldn't even see the shift. It was a virtual reality simulator. So someone would put on a headset and they would try and see if they can get hits down, and then you wouldn't know which ones were shifting or not, and I couldn't tell, but a friend of mine did it and he shot down what he could, and it was interesting to see that there was a difference, and you couldn't see it with your mind, you could just see it in the fact that his scores changed. Like there were three that he took. The first two he did really good, and the third one it was about half that. It was just interesting, and it wasn't the difference in drone speed or even formation, it was just the fact that it shifted and changed.